that may be the extent or desire of the assassination of Trump. It may not be as complex nuts and bolts as people would like to believe. That being said, one of the most vitriolic people in this never Trump world was a former congresswoman out of Wyoming. She was in charge of the J6 committee, and the hatred for her, for Trump, is unbelievable as a Republican, unbelievably more as a conservative. And she was voted out of office by the biggest landslide in American political congressional history by her own constituents, Eric. And yet, this woman continues to stay alive as a nonstop Frankensteinian corpse. I don't know what you have, but let's take a look.
But then, yeah, she has nothing in terms of staying alive like this guy.
Yeah,
here.
Go ahead. Well, let's play this. And then
in our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who was a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, and so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from her fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office.
Wow.
And she will succeed.
Wow.
I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too.
Let me tell you something. He has to be indicted for treason. I'm going to get to Dick Cheney in a little while, but let's move on to Liz Cheney, the Manchurian candidate daughter that he created. Let's get on to her because she has made as equal draconian, incredibly Frankensteinian statements as her father. So maybe we could show a little bit of that.
Well, we got this right here. I mean, look at this. This is the tweet that sent it off.
Okay,
GOP has chosen. They will nominate a man who attempted to overturn an election and seize power. We have 8 months to save our republic and ensure Donald Trump is never anywhere near the Oval Office again.
Right. Now, somebody pointed out, and I agree, her and her father are not talking in political terms of beating someone to the ballot. Their terminology is always, he has to be stopped. He can never allow to get back in the Oval Office. He's a threat to democracy. He's a threat. It's never, we're going to beat him at the ballot. That's never, ever their vernacular. It's always a physical. Look inside the lines. It's always physical. Go ahead, Eric.
Donald Trump, if he is reelected, it will be the end of the republic. What do you mean?
He's told us what he will do. It's very easy to see the steps that he will take. People who say, well, if he's elected, it's not that dangerous because we have all of these checks and balances, don't fully understand the extent to which the Republicans in Congress today have been co-opted. One of the things that we see happening today is sort of a sleepwalking into dictatorship in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay,
dictatorship. What do you do with dictators, Mark?
You have to take them out. Now, ironically enough, that was Dickerson, whose mother, Nancy Dickerson, had sex with LBJ. She was the first woman telecaster for NBC News, and he had sex with her in the hotel here in 1960, right down the street from me, for the Democratic National Convention that was held here in Los Angeles after he won. Anyway, after he was nominated as a vice president, lost the nomination, went to JFK, but he became vice president, and she went up to interview him in a dark room, which is in my script, LBJ, which we are working to AI at this time, which will eventually release to locals people, and there's a whole segment. That's her son. Anyway, so Liz Cheney, is using language about taking this guy out. And the language is so dangerous, so draconian, so military, so treasonous, as there has to be a reckoning. So this cannot happen again. These two people have got to meet some sort of official consequences. I'll just leave it at that. Let everybody use their own imaginations.
But Mark, how would they do it? Let
I'm-
me see.
Right. Okay. So they back Nikki Haley. Okay, that's fine. And I don't know how Mitt Romney's involved, and apparently Mike Pompeo was going to be her VP candidate under Nikki Haley, who surprisingly shows up at the last minute to speak at the Republican National Convention and wasn't on the original schedule. Nobody knows how that happens. Here's a guy, Mitt Romney, and here's another Dr. Evil, right?
Yep.
Is that what we're looking at? Okay. So Dr. Evil, which goes back to 9/11, Dr. Evil was in the bunker in 9/11. They brought him down in the bunker. For 8 years, there was a woman who was the head of the detail for the vice president, Dick Cheney. She becomes a friend of the family. She lives with them. She becomes their personal valet. She is the woman who is in charge of the Secret Service detail who takes Cheney to the bunker on 9/11. She is there for every part of Dick Cheney's vice presidential term. And she then becomes really close with Liz Cheney. She literally becomes, even when she was not at the Secret Service, this woman becomes the private security for the family, Eric. And let's take a look and see who that is. Oh my God. Look at the woman on the right. She is Kimberly Cheadle. That's her on the right, with her boss, Dick Cheney, who she worships. Now, Kimberly Cheadle will famously leave and go to PepsiCo and then come back. And
But that was after she was taking care of the Bidens.
Right, well, this is when she was younger, when she was taking care of the Cheneys. But before she gets to the Bidens, she's doing this stuff for him, and she is brought into his fold and thinks and acts and moves like a sycophant, is what I wanted to say. She then leaves for PepsiCo and comes back because of a woman named Jill Biden. Jill Biden handpicks her to become the head of the Secret Service. That's how she gets to this position. All the other times she's with the Dick Cheney family, with Liz Cheney, and I'm not going to take a bullet for Donald Trump family. The entire Secret Service gets co-opted by this woman, I believe. She then is famously handpicked by Jill Biden to become the head of the Secret Service, which is where we are now. I believe, and this is for people who doubt me, I believe that Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney were the masterminds behind the situation to get Trump. And I don't mean nuts and bolts. I mean the overseers as the masterminds. I think Dick Cheney is the one that put this ball in motion like LBJ did in 1963 in Dallas. Dick